Hello everybody, welcome to Tabs. I'm William Lebowski, and today I would like to welcome you to Automobilista 2's Racin USA Part 1 DLC, and as you can see we are in the M8 at Long Beach, and I do have to say I think they kind of nailed it out of the park with this one. And by that, this one I mean this combination specifically that we're looking at here between this M8 GTE as well as Long Beach. I think both of these, both the car and the track is done phenomenally, and not only that, there was a bunch of other changes that occurred to AMS2. However, I don't think that they totally made their way to this GTE class of cars, because I was playing with the GT3 cars before the update, getting excited for, in the coming days, being able to drive the GTE cars and all these new tracks. And I was on the Nordschleife in the Porsche GT3, and I noticed how much the physics were changed. It felt like something way closer to ACC or R Factor 2, both the communication with the car on the ground and what I was able to do with the car, the way the car felt, the way the car performed, and most notably, the car lacked that telltale AMS2 fishtail, loose rear end, constantly kind of problem that has been a little bit persistent. And fortunately, the M8 does not have this problem, and the DPi can be a little finicky, but there's a little bit of a gray area because, of course, when it comes to those prototypes, you do want to be able, it is very possible and very plausible and very much a part of the car's characteristics to slide out a little bit. I mean, it's often used to get the car through the corner in the prototypes, but I think there's a little bit of a line between where that exists and what the reality to that is. And you can see just kind of right there as I have to drift through that corner, essentially, it's not quite totally dialed in for these cars in this current DLC update. And the thing is, I think that this is something that we've seen before with Reiza, that they will release this product. It's pretty great. It's pretty awesome. There's just a couple little tweaks that need to be made. And in which direction largely is, I think, dictated by what probably the community says in response. And so I am very, very excited for where these cars will be in 2 weeks, a month's time, this whole class, as well as this entire update, all of the content in this update. But I do not want to sound like a negative Nelly when it comes to this update to this DLC pack, because this it's another one of those times where AMS2 has kind of changed completely from its previous version to this current version, or from 3 versions ago to this current version to go, and definitely from where the game was a month, 2 months ago to where it is now. And the only reason I'm bringing up the point that I have brought up first is because we've seen, at least I've seen, what they're capable of doing with the physics in these cars, because it has been applied at this point to the rest of the field of cars, to the rest of the classes of cars. I just feel like it needs to make its way more strongly to the GTE and the prototype classes, because that's the only thing keeping them from being phenomenal cars. This BMW M8 is probably my favorite feeling currently M8 on the entire GTE sim market. When it comes to R Factor 2, I'm in the BMW M8 GTE car kind of a lot. It's in my top 3 favorite GTE cars, and I just love the way it feels. And frankly, this is a little bit more of a fun version of that car. I think that car is maybe a little bit more heavy and realistic. This car does convey the heaviness, but I think it's more of a fun version and less of maybe realistic version. Moving on to the prototypes, I actually did just spend a lot of time in the DPi prototype in R Factor 2, and I do think it is worth comparing these two, because they're not apples and oranges now at the point where they share a lot of I don't exactly know what it is they do share, but we've seen the Reiza packs for R Factor 2 and R Factor 2 packs in AMS2. So there is some sort of cooperation and communication, and so I have spent a lot of time recently in R Factor 2's DPi's prototypes, specifically racing at the Indianapolis GP circuit. And so I do have a current feel for this car, and I think the same kind of message I have for the BMW GTE was that this car is certainly 90% of the way where I personally enjoy it, but I think there's a little bit, a 10% tuning, and I think that both of these things could be accomplished probably in setup. To get these cars to where I like them to be, to not necessarily get so loose on the rear end, because it's only at specific moments now. AMS2, I think, used to receive a lot of flack and a lot of complaints for always being fishtaily. Kind of at all moments of the time, it was like the rear end was just constantly on ice. And that is not the case anymore. It is really, you could even say it's a matter of throttle control at this point. You could say it's a matter of setup. It's a matter of line that, you know, can really change that. And so I don't think you need to, people used to say you really needed to readjust your driving style to be successful in AMS2. And I don't think that that's the case anymore. I think you can do the standard, you know, even real life motorsports moves that you would do, and that they actually kind of translate more appropriately to the sim itself. And so it's really amazing, you know, what has happened in, I think, this, you know, short amount of time that we've seen AMS2 have been released, you know, since its full release, and since, you know, just a couple of months ago. And I think that this prototype is kind of a good culmination of that, and this track even, I think, is a good culmination of how Reiza has been able to take super immersive and great feeling and great looking properties, whether it be cars or tracks, and now they've kind of been able to get to the point now where they're replicating really awesome cars and tracks that feel and, you know, are really immersive and everything like that. But now it's getting to the point where the physics are there as well, and that's really exciting to me. And then so I want to just reiterate, I hope I'm not being a negative Nelly or a negative Nancy about any of this, and I hope any of my criticism has been, you know, based in wanting the game to improve and actually giving constructive criticism to that. And it's not like it's not like I think they need it or anything like that. I just think that this pack is so close to being the perfection that we know Reiza can accomplish. And quite frankly, that we are seeing currently in the GT3 class of cars. The GT3 class of cars is head and shoulders above where it released at, and they're some of the most fun GT3 cars that you can actually drive on the sim market. Beyond that, I do feel like the C8R and the Porsche 919 GTE, or RS rather, GTE, are a little bit, and I think this is a problem of the setup. I don't think this is a problem of the physics or the car or anything like that. The stock setup is a little bit, not a little bit, there's really no front end grip that I'm finding. I let the car heat up, I changed style of driving a little bit, and I just couldn't get the front end to really grip. And I didn't really have time to dive into the setup, so that's why we have these two cars. But they've made a huge impression on me. I'm really curious to hear what everybody else has to say about this new DLC pack, and I'll see you in the comments below.